My name is Christopher Schreck. I'm CEO at ReCap, and we make athletic wear that monitors motions. The reason we do this is that in sports, the way you move your body is everything. General form analysis can determine anything from performance to injury rate to even fatigue levels. So right now, there's a big push in sports to get as much form analysis as possible. The best way for them to do this right now is to take the athlete out of the field and put them in a motion capture lab. This is good because you get the good quality data, but it's only one data point and it's not in their environment. There are some in the field options, but these are nowhere near the same quality and the same insight that you get in traditional motion capture. So this is where ReCap comes in. We take our highly elastic strain sensors, we integrate them into clothing which athletes are very comfortable with, like compressions, arm sleeves, underwear, socks even. Hold on. And once we collect all that motion data, what we do with it is send it off to a designated device, be it the athlete's own, their coaches, trainers, what have you, for further analysis. More specifically, when we arrange these sensors in our proprietary sensor arrangement, we can see each joint's individual contribution onto the general motion in a way that makes us very similar to traditional motion captures. So once we got that functionality, we wanted to test how accurate we were. So what we did is instead of going out into the field, we went back into the lab to put on to some participants and test ourselves against the gold standard in motion capture, which is the marker-based visual systems. This is often seen in entertainment, in videos, in animation, and it really has the highest accuracy you can get. So what we did was we found the difference between our system and this one. We didn't really know what to do with this number. We needed a reference point. So what we did is we looked at the only current motion capture that has any capacity to leave a lab, and that is inertial measurement units, or IMUs. These systems, while they can leave the lab, they have a very limited range. They only have about 2 minutes of active runtime before they need to be recalibrated, so that way the motions will still make sense. And for that 2 minutes, you're spending about $20,000 per suit. But when it is accurate, this is clinical grade research quality motion capture, and this is the exact kind of stuff that they do use in sports analysis. So when we looked at our accuracy versus the high-end IMUs, we found that statistically speaking, we're identical. So to recap, we can take clinical grade motion capture out of the lab. We can do it with no time constraints, and we can do it for $700 instead of 20 grand. So we think this is a very good reason for us to exit the lab and go into the field of sports. However, once we get into that field, there won't be exactly no competition. So current competition is not exactly motion capture, but it does exist, and often in a form similar to that of the Modus sleeve. This is a pitching sleeve that can track the general pitching motion of the athlete it is on. It is a comfortable price at about $150 per unit. They can do this because they are not motion capture. They only use one sensor to track the arm. This can give you a general idea of the motion, but it can't do the joint by joint you'd expect in high quality motion capture. This means that the measurements that they output aren't nearly as insightful or useful to sports. This has given them very mixed reviews and has left a very large space open for a very mobile motion capture system, and this is what we want to grab at. We believe the best market for us to start out in is the sports market. It's not only huge, but it's constantly being driven to innovate from the natural competition in sports. Additionally, it's very influential to tangential markets such as physical therapy, which we can also branch out to later in our development. Additionally, to attack the sports market, we think the best plan is to target the professional athletes, because when you're an athlete in a sport, you look at the best of the best to see what you want to do to yourself to become like them. We think we have a good value proposition for these athletes as well. We can offer live visual feedback that gives you more intuitive understanding of what you're doing versus what you should be doing. The way we can do this is by quantifying each individual motion and effectively removing it from the space and time that it's happening and send it off to whomever needs to receive it, meaning that coaches, trainers, and even other athletes that may or may not be available at the time or in the same room can get the same quality data as if they were surrounding you the time you were doing this. We think the best way for us to start here is to start off with a $300 pitching sleeve that we can have ready by the first quarter. This is because pitching coaches know exactly how their athletes need to move to optimize performance and reduce injury likelihood. So our plan is to start off with a select group of athletes and coaches, make sure that our first product fits their schedules and their needs as closely as possible, and once we feel confident in this product, we're going to then try and grab up as many of the 14,000 high-end pitchers that we can. From there, we think sports will be pretty receptive to this kind of technology. So who's going to help us do it? Our COO, Downing Zhao, keeps us all on task. I'm the inventor. Justin Meinica has cut our wires so we can go a little further from the computers. And Robert Meinica is our security guy. He makes sure what goes on in your pants is our business only. These are our partners. Many of these we have very developed relationships with, and we know exactly how they're going to help us. Others of these we're still developing with, and it really depends on their generosity of how far and how quickly we can go places. So that brings me to the important part of the night. What ReCap needs to succeed right now. We are currently raising $200,000 to get to our next steps. Specifically, we are looking for investors who are passionate about the sports world and want to take motion capture to the next level. We're also looking for service providers that can help us cut costs and get to market as quickly as possible. So, this has been ReCap, and we make motion capture in the sports world.